Shepard. Promise me you'll tell them to subscribe for ad-free content.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me if this comes off as 007 glaze.
Shepard.
Nah, because they don't even know that this may be my favorite game of 2026.
Shepard.
You know what I'm saying?
Just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
And as far as what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the cover of the gaming section of my episode. Of course, coming out soon, as far as me covering the entire gaming and music IPs that's notoriously affecting the masses, more particularly for the month of May. Now, when it comes to Drake,
is it okay I got my dope on me?
you know, we already covered that to a T. So now it's time to get into the gaming portion, or the gaming cover of the month of May, because I believe this is not only one of the most successful James Bond video games out the gate, but when it comes to IO Interactive, which is the developers for this specific game, it is the fastest selling game ever. And if you don't know, IO Interactive is known for a plethora of stealth games under the Hitman umbrella. Of course, we'll get into that in a second, but starting with 007 First Light, the game we're getting into as of right now, getting into the sales and review roundup, but then you come to realize that I've put several amount of hours into this game, and that is why I said it's probably my favorite game of 2026 as of right now. When it comes to the masses, this is IO Interactive's fastest selling game ever, faster than any of the Hitman titles, because if you don't know, IO Interactive is known for the Hitman series, and of course when it comes to them developing this particular game, not only is it blowing those games out of the water, you know, respectfully of course, but it sold 1.5 million copies within the first 24 to 48 hours, sold 2.7 million copies during its first week, and of course 3 million copies sold less than 2 weeks, confirmed by IO Interactive CEO Hakan Abrak. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So getting deeper into it, it's been estimated that this game in 2 weeks has generated around 150 million plus in revenue. Of course, PS5 led 55%, followed by Steam as far as 33%. Very strong in China. We'll get to that in a second. And of course, Xbox follows as far as third, because this particular game is on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC as far as Steam and Epic Games Store. Now, when it comes to the Switch version, ladies and gentlemen, the Nintendo Switch 2 version is scheduled for summer of 2026. Now, of course, you know, looking at my handy dandy wristwatch, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't poison people and it doesn't shock people like in 007, but you know, it still is pretty nice if I do say so myself. You know what I'm saying?
Shepard.
All right, my fault. Let me get back on subject. So the main thing I was wanting to say, when it came to the Nintendo Switch scheduling for summer of 2026, I would say don't hold your breath, because when it comes to these huge AAA games coming to the Switch platform, I don't know why they even tease us with the Switch port, but because they gave us an actual timeline, let's just hope they stick with it, because technically it's summer and it is the year of 2026, so it's in IO Interactive's court to see if they can be able to move the ball forward as far as that Switch port. So now to get into the nitty gritty details of the behind the scenes, because if you don't know, Amazon, ladies and gentlemen, you probably like Jeff Bezos. How he get into this equation? Apparently, Amazon acquired MGM, which is the James Bond IP rights, after IO Interactive's deal for First Light. So it's a very interesting scenario that usually when you overtake a company or when you buy out a company, I'm not going to say you have a clean slate and hire who you want, but usually that's what happens. So I think because of this game doing phenomenal as far as on every single platform, more specifically on Xbox, it's the third most played game on the platform, and the deluxe edition is the eighth most played game on the platform. And then of course you have PlayStation, where it's the sixth most played game on the platform. And then of course when it comes to Japan, see if I can find this real quick. When it comes to Japan, it debuted at number 7 and sold 4,388 copies during the week. And when it comes to the lifetime Japanese retail sales, it's reached 25,078 copies. So safe to say, It's doing phenomenal everywhere, even on Steam. Surprisingly, as a single player game, it's still holding 11,000 players concurrently, a 24-hour peak of 21,000, and in a all-time peak of 14 days ago, which is 71,000. Now, the reason why I bring up all these numbers is because, of course, when it comes to Amazon acquiring MGM, which owns the James Bond IP rights, safe to say they're probably going to look at their bottom line and say, you know what? I wouldn't be mad if we start to give them more of that. You know what I'm saying?
Shepard,
I mean,
just look at the state of gaming.
come on now.
Like, what is going on?
I know Amazon's looking at the state of gaming like, you know what? We should probably put out a sequel expeditiously, as even when it comes to the development of the sequel, I think the CEO came out. Let me see. So basically, when it comes to the sequel, let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. Jeff Gaddis from, hopefully I said his name right, from Amazon Games said, quote, seems like a sequel should be made.
You guys.
Riveting commentary. So he also suggested that as long as players' demand remains strong, future games are likely. And of course, IO Interactive, because you know they had to come out the cut and say, hey, please don't fire us. Now that you acquired the James Bond IP, hopefully you don't get rid of everybody who MGM hired, as they pled their case saying that a new James Bond game would cost less because they already have the foundation set, the gameplay, mechanic loop, etc. They only have to add on to it, right? And that's basically what they said. They said it would cost less, it would release faster, and they could reuse technology and assets, which of course, when you go to the board and present that, they're probably saying to themselves, you know what? You are right. Because this specific game, 007 First Light, had a development reportedly of, as far as the cost, reportedly of $200 million. And of course, it hasn't broke even yet, but come on now, 2 weeks, already 150 million plus revenue. At some point, they're going to recoup because everybody is still clamoring and playing this game and consuming this game at a breakneck pace. As now that you know, you can just add on to the already foundational gameplay loop. And of course, IO Interactive said it would cost less, release faster, and reuse technology assets, because they went on to say, and went on to reveal that the development cost for the Hitman games, as in 2016, the first Hitman generated around $78 million, which is insane, right? But it took 4.5 to 5 years to make.
You guys. See, that's the problem.
And then you come to realize Hitman 2 had $48 million in revenue, and it took 2.5 years as far as development time. And then last but definitely not least, you have Hitman 3 that made a whopping 19 million, but the development time was 20 months. So this basically is a whole snapshot that they could send towards Amazon's way, showcasing that once they have the foundation built, hence Hitman in 2016 that took 4.5 to 5 years to make, then they could fast track the other sequels, because of course the foundation is already set and they're just adding upon it, which is why I read off the Hitman development times getting shorter and shorter over time. Now, the whole revenue aspect, as far as actually I'm tripping. So that was the cost aspect. So Hitman 2016 cost 78 million. It took 4.5 to 5 years to make. Hitman 2 cost 48 million, took 2.5 years to make, and then Hitman 3 cost 19 million, and it took 20 months to make. So that is why in totality, showing this to Amazon will probably make them inclined to continue the James Bond franchise because of the foundation already being set and they could build upon that. But of course, if you're a huge 007 fan, I'm probably preaching to the choir, because you've already had a plethora of 007 games that you've enjoyed. One of the most popular being GoldenEye, that came out in 1997 for the N64, which sold 8.1 million, the biggest by far as far as 007 games. And that brings me to my other point. I don't know what it is about the gaming community and female characters, you know what I'm saying?
Shepard.
Nah, because I gotta get into it. For some reason, everybody was just insanely upset that there was a female M character. If you don't know who M is basically the person that Bond takes orders from. I'm trying to get the actual name. Is there an actual name or is that spoiler? Hopefully it's not. I don't want to say the whole, well, I guess it was, so it just goes by M. But anyways, so when it comes to 1962 to 1979, M was male, and it was Bernard Lee as the gruff superior. And Judi Dench took over as the first female M in what? 1995?
You guys. See, that's the problem.
So are you telling me the most popular 007 video game also had a female M and nobody said anything?
Shepard. Just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
It's almost as if people are just making, because this is a huge, like, you may just think I'm bringing it up out of nowhere. This was actually, for some reason, a big deal to some of the communities in the gaming community, which unfortunately it got big enough to where I even had to address it. But a lot of people was upset that M was a female, even though she's been a female for majority of the time. And of course, the biggest 007 game, it had a female M character. So I don't understand where that comes from as far as the grifters and people just blatantly hating women. Like, I don't know how else to put it. So anyways, putting that to the side, some of the other things I want to get into for people who didn't even know that 007 First Light existed is that this is like a quintessential James Bond origin story done right. While playing the game, I kid you not, I play a lot of games, of course, shameless plug, Analytic Dreams video, and just type in 007 First Light and my gameplay will pop up. I have like 3 parts of the gameplay right now. Actually, I think I could, let me see if I can find it. So if you just type this in right here, let me see. On Analytic Dreams video on Spotify. Here we go. Yeah, so Analytic Dreams video on Spotify. And you type this in and it will pop up. So part 1 through 3 is already out. And of course, we're going to complete the game. And I don't know how many parts it'll take, but part 1 through 3 is already up. The reason why I say that is because playing a plethora of games, I started to realize that this may be my favorite tutorial of all time. Now, of course, I put Jedi. Which one's the second one? Is it Jedi Survivor? Let me say Jedi Survivor. I think it's that one. Yeah, I put Jedi Survivor up there as far as one of the better tutorials, but only because of the overall scope of what happened after you learn the tutorial. When it comes to 007, that same thing happens, and of course I'm not trying to like spoil anything, because essentially if you look at Jedi Survivor, you look at this game, and yeah, if I keep expounding, I'm gonna spoil it. So basically, the plot points are similar. The story beats is very similar to the tutorial and the crew you're surrounded with. So with that being said, the main thing I was want to get at was the tutorial being immaculate, the way they have you going through a James Bond origin story, but they don't stick too long on certain plot points. The pace is immaculate. The Hitman style is definitely there. But then, of course, once you get into the combat side of this game, I will say the environmental destruction. I've heard a lot of other expert gamers say that it's comparable to, I think it's called Sleeping Dogs. I've never played the game, so don't kill me. But it's been comparable to Sleeping Dogs as far as the environmental damage while fighting. So if you play that game, just know once you get into the physical aspect, you will definitely understand why people compare it to that. As, of course, the core gameplay loop is Hitman style stealth and infiltration, but the cinematics take it to the cinematic elements in action takes it to a whole different level, especially throughout the game. You feel like you're playing a movie, but of course, there's enough gameplay to make it feel so, it makes it feel like a video game versus a movie that you're just watching. Because some video games will have like 15-minute cutscenes with like 1 minute of gameplay. This is like the opposite. It will have certain scenes that play out like a movie, but then you get back into your stealth or action element where you get to control the character. Now, another thing that sets this apart is, of course, the driving sequences. The melee combat, I think, is phenomenal. I love the dodge mechanic for somebody trying to tackle you and somebody trying to hit you being different, because it makes you think a little bit, not a lot. It's not the most complex melee mechanic in the system in the world. It's not an Elden Ring type melee build, but whenever you're fighting people, you definitely have to look out for that grab, because I think that's going to be the main thing that trips up a lot of people, because you're used to hitting one button to parry, and you have to hit a completely different button if you want to get out of the way of them trying to tackle you or grab you. So I think the grab is the thing that's gonna trip people up the most. But anyways, so when it comes to the stealth and infiltration, there's multiple mission approaches. Of course, when it comes to, there's a whole section where they replicate everything as far as the environmental elements that you were in, and you get to play through it again, and that's the excuse. It's like a simulation, and it's basically the excuse to have a Hitman style of gameplay loop where it's way more, I would say, difficult. And that is the Hitman side of 007 First Light. The main missions doesn't really give you that level of difficulty, but the simulation does, because it throws everything at you in environments that you've already been in when it comes to the main story. And they explain it pretty well. So when it comes to that, there's also a social stealth mechanic that I thought was phenomenal, especially the way you can get caught and talk your way out of it. But it's not a get out of jail like free card, because there's certain scenarios where certain people can be bluffed. So they're going to be like, why are you here? You can't bluff them. So now you got to fight, or you got to find some other way to get into that environment. Because usually if you don't have the option to fight them, you just probably get kicked out of that specific area, and you have to find your way back in. So I love the bluff system. I think that's phenomenal, especially adds on to the James Bond charisma. Because this man, I'm not going to cap to you, this man be coming up with the most egregious ways to get around people. Like, he would break down the door with his foot, right? And people will look around, and he'll just be like, oh, I'm the door inspector. That one didn't make it. Like, hold up, now what in the world?
You guys. See, that's the problem.
And people would just go along with it. Like, oh man, I guess he's just a door inspector. Now my measly 26 years of being on Earth, if somebody kicks down the door, I'm not going to be like, man, well, he said he was a door inspector, so let me just let him be. Like, that's never going to happen. But it's just hilarious in the grand scheme of things. And you come to realize that you can't take this game too seriously, because it definitely has MCU type humor. Now, of course, before y'all kill me, there's certain instances where there's life-threatening scenarios, right? And the jokes that they make in the midst of those life-threatening scenarios, I don't know when the script was written, and I don't know who was on the writing team. Overall, I think it was a phenomenal paced story, because I still haven't beat the game yet. But I've went through enough scenarios in this game to pinpoint very MCU-esque jokes when life-threatening situations is placed upon your main character. And it's not like I'm not trying to be like a party pooper, like, man, why they not just serious all the time? But come on, my brother. If a gun is at your face, if you're about to be eaten by crocodiles, there's no way in the world that you just out here making jokes. Surrounded by 30 different armed military guys, and you just making like, well, guess I'm out of ammo. We about to die, man. Any jokes you want to get off your chest? Well, I do got a couple. Like, come on, man. Like, at some point, somebody got to call out the MCU humor. So that's one of the things I quickly realize. I'm a huge Marvel fan. Like, y'all know Marvel is like my cream of the crop. Like, I love Marvel to the moon and back. But I have to point it out when it comes to stealth games, I feel like it's more serious. And maybe that's just me loving stealth games, coming from a Sam Fisher type era where, as a little kid, I love playing the Splinter Cell games. And those type of MCU jokes didn't happen too often, so it threw me off. But this is definitely a different flavor of a stealth game. You're not supposed to take it too seriously. And of course, they can make jokes when they're about to literally die, and you're just supposed to be like, hey, hey, that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess, for this game. So it's not the biggest deal in the world, but definitely wanted to bring it up because I know a lot of people, they aren't really receptive to MCU type comedy. So I just wanted to warn you before you get into the game. Like, this game definitely doesn't take itself too seriously. So some of the gadgets that you use, because you're a huge agent going throughout these environments, and the whole Bond, the name's Bond, James Bond, I mean, that's a real thing throughout all of these missions. I mean, this man is doing the unthinkable. Like, what type of upper body strength does this man have? So anyways, enough glazing. So some of the gadgets include a Q watch, a phone, a lighter, pen gadgets, and I'm not gonna spoil all the gadgets, but let's just say you can make it very interesting, especially when you enter in certain environments and you realize, man, I should have brought this gadget, or I should have brought that gadget. I will give you a hint on what the best gadget is, because I guess it's subjective, but for me, certain gadgets definitely work the best. I found that the shock gadget, I think that comes from the watch, I think that's the best gadget by far. And I think you can take out that slot and fill it with another one. I would not advise it at all. So anyways, well, that being said, I'm not gonna spoil any other like best gadget builds. This is not one of those type videos. for the people with 9 to 5s out there, just know that this game takes around 15 to 16 hours as far as the main story. As far as the fast playthrough, meaning the Call of Duty-esque playthrough where no stealth is happening whatsoever. That man just wants to run through the finish line. It would take you around 13 hours. And of course, there's a whole tac sim. That's what it's called. I finally saw it. The tac sim, which is the tactical simulation I was talking about earlier. If you play throughout that and actually want to complete it, it would probably take you around 25 to 30 hours. I kid you not. It's way more difficult than the actual main story. And it makes you feel like it's more Hitman-esque, especially the type of enemies they throw at you in the tactical simulation. So, with that being said, there was something else I was wanting to get at as far as this game. Future content. So, for all the people who play in 007, listen up. hey, listen up now. Listen up, because I got some things to read off. Now, if you love 007 First Light, guess what? You in for a great awakening. Or usually they say rude, but I say great. You feel me?
Shepard.
All right, they get the point. So basically, for 007 First Light, there's a lot of new missions, new gadgets, new game mode plus, photo mode, additional challenges. And of course, when it comes to that, the Nintendo Switch 2 that they still say is coming out in summer 2026, and it's already summer and it's 2026.
Shepard.
All right, my bad. I ain't gonna harken on that. So basically, the main thing you need to know is that new missions are coming, new gadgets are coming, so you're gonna be thoroughly entertained even if you already beat the main story. And don't forget, when it comes to the tactical sim, it will take you much longer to complete those, in my opinion. So I'm very excited for the new missions and new gadgets. I think it would probably be similar to how IO Interactive had Hitman World of Assassination approach as far as the model of having a foundation and adding missions upon it. And that makes me feel like Amazon could get behind that fully, especially when you look at the revenue and how people are still playing the game to this day. Because I believe the game came out a while ago. Let me see. 007 First Light release date. Let me see. So 007 First Light came out technically May 27th. So where are we? Like 3 weeks in? Let me see. So let me see. 1, 2. Okay, so we're 2 weeks going on 3 weeks in. And it's still topping all of the different platforms. Xbox, PlayStation. Well, not topping, but in the midst of the top 10 on Xbox, PlayStation. It's not in the top 15 on Steam because, of course, those are like those are just having a lot of live service games in the top 15. But when it comes to 007 First Light, it still has a great foundation as far as 11,000 players concurrently playing on Steam and a 24-hour peak of 21,000. So essentially what I'm saying is when it comes to new missions and new gadgets, I think once that number dips off a little bit, that's when we'll probably get new missions. And I think Amazon will be fully behind that because of the revenue already generated and it already being IO Interactive's fastest selling game ever. So we already got into the sequel. Once again, Jeff Gaddis from Amazon Games did say, quote, seems like a sequel should be made. And he also suggested that as long as players' demand remains strong, future games are likely. So that being said, there's some other things I was wanting to get into as far as the review and sales roundup. We already got into the sales, so let's get into the review roundups. As IGN gave this a whopping 9 out of 10. Saying, quote, what I've wanted is a Bond game that's confident and charismatic. One that both ebbs patiently and peaks violently. Demonstrably obsessed. Demonstrably? No, it's definitely demonstrably. I love these reviews where they're typing it out so they're looking up these words. Like who in the world, who uses that in a regular sentence? Demonstrably obsessed with bringing the Bond fantasy to life in a way no one has ever managed before. 007 First Light is the best Bond game I've ever played. First Light has its own M, its own Q, and its own Bond. And after playing it, I wouldn't have it any other way. And then, of course, The Guardian gave it a perfect score of 5 out of 5, saying, quote, a triumphant James Bond game. Plenty of games have let us be a gun-toting version of Bond, but this is the first opportunity we've had to be a Bond relaxing beside a glittering infinity pool in Vietnam. Or a Bond trying to get one over on a shell game hustler. Very few fans get to play in the sandbox of the obsession like IO has here. As far as Bond video games go, nobody has done it better.
Shepard,
You know what I'm saying?
just look at the state of gaming. Like, what is going on?
And then, of course, to round off the review roundups, GameSpot gave this game an 8 out of 10, saying, quote, 007 First Light wisely repurposes what works in both universes, but isn't afraid to reimagine or ditch those parts that don't. And of course, I did say that was roundup, so I think that's basically it. Let me see. Yeah, well, let's get into one more. VGC gives another perfect 5 out of 5, saying, quote, 007 First Light might just be the best James Bond game ever. An action game with Naughty Dog levels of spectacle and Call of Duty levels of big budget excess, garnished with the very best bits of Hitman and blended like a cocktail of Bond at its very best, shaken, not stirred. You know what I'm saying?
But then, you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at.
So safe to say, everybody's thoroughly enjoying this game. So all the 007 games in the past, because I believe the first one, which was the most successful one, was in 1997 as far as GoldenEye 007. All the agent games, that 007 agent games that came after that, I believe this is the main cream of the crop James Bond experience that you could play through in a video game form. Because it used to be GoldenEye as far as listening to the James Bond audience. But nowadays, I think we can all say that what 007 First Light is doing is similar to what Insomniac did with Spider-Man. They're basically making their version as distinct as possible, and they had immense success with it. And I think, with that being said, Amazon would be a fool. They'll be absolutely inept if they do not continue this series through IO Interactive. Even though they did acquire MGM, I think if Amazon has found a way, or if there is a way, Amazon will be able to find it as far as keeping IO Interactive in the development loop of this game for the foreseeable future, as it is the greatest James Bond game of all time, in my opinion, and of course a lot of others, as far as the masses being considered. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio to follow me on my social medias. And of course, if you're on Spotify, make sure to comment down below. What is your favorite, no spoilers, but what is your favorite aspect of 007 First Light? And do you believe Amazon should let IO Interactive develop the next James Bond game?